All right, so now we're moving on to section B of chapter 1, and this is just evaluating algebraic expressions. So this section should hopefully be easy, and it definitely should be a review for all of you. You should all know how to evaluate an algebraic expression because we're just going to be substituting in. So our objectives today is to understand how to substitute for a variable and to find the value of an expression. So after we substitute it in, we're going to solve and find for the value of the expression. What did it equal to? And then our second objective is to translate a word problem into an expression and then evaluate it with substitution. All right, so that's our goals for today and what we need to accomplish in this video. And like I said, this really should be a review for all of you, and hopefully all of you guys are understanding this. Let's just start moving on to some problems. All right, so when we are trying to evaluate an algebraic expression, we will substitute numerical values for any of our variables or our unknowns and then calculate. So this little machine is showing you what we're doing. We're inputting for our values of x, and then in here we're doing all of the calculations, performing all the operations, and then it provides us an output, which is our value of our expression for that given unknown. All right, so we're going to go ahead and solve a couple of these. And when we do this, there's one key thing I need you guys to do when you're solving for this, and that's going to be with this Q. All right, so anytime that you are solving or substituting in a negative value, make sure you put it in parentheses. So here, if you think about substitution, if you play sports, if you play basketball and you substitute in for a teammate, you guys are just exchanging places. You're playing the same position, but you are essentially equal to each other in that because you're just taking place for them. So that's exactly what's happening here as well. When we're substituting, we are just saying, well, Q is equal to -2. So wherever I see a Q, I can write -2 in. So I substitute in my -2. And whenever you substitute in a negative, you must put it in parentheses. And then it's going to be minus 2 times R, and R is equal to 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and substitute 3 in for R. And now we're going to just perform our operation. So here, -2 squared. Well, -2 times -2. Well, we know a negative times a negative is positive, and 2 times 2 is 4, so it becomes 3 times 4. And then now we know 2 times 3 is 6, so it's -6. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 6 is equal to 6. So we know that our value for when Q is equal to -2 and R is equal to 3 is going to be equal to 6. All right, same thing I said before in the other videos. I'm not necessarily going to go through all of them. For interest of time, I'm going to move on to this letter C. All right, so now here we have P, Q, and R, so we need to substitute them all in. So instead of writing P, I know I can go ahead and write 4 because that's what it's equal to. So 4 minus 2 times Q, and Q is equal to -2. Remember, always write it in parentheses when it's negative. Plus 2 times R, and that is then equal to 3. So that's 2 times 3. All over top of P plus R. So P is 4 and R is 3. So 4 plus 3. Right, now we're just going to go ahead and evaluate. So 4, nothing's being done to that yet. -2 times -2 is plus 4. 2 times 3 is 6, so it's plus 6 all over top of 7. Well, 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 6 is equal to 14. So 14 divided by 7 is equal to 2. So when we evaluate this expression, it is equal to 2. All right, let's move on to a couple other different problems. All right, so for these, I just filled in what P and Q is equal to because I couldn't tell if you can see it or not. It seemed a little blurry because I stretched out a little bit too much maybe. But here, I just want to go through one of these. I'm not going to go through A. I'm going to go through B. Because essentially I just want to make sure you guys know how to take a square root. All right, so here I'm just going to substitute in. So we have the square root of P, which we know is 4, plus Q squared, which is -3 squared. So remember, always put your negatives in parentheses. So here I have -3 squared is -3 times -3. The negatives multiplied to each other gives me a positive. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I'm left with 4 plus 9. Right? 4 plus 9 is 13, so it's a square root of 13. Right? Now, there is no perfect square for 13, so you can leave this as your answer. If we ever start using calculators later on, I may have you round to the nearest 10th, but for now, you can just stop and leave this as your answer. All right? So now let's move on to, I believe there's just one more question left. Or actually, I am going to do this question A real quick. Just so that way we can go over taking the square root. So P is equal to 4 minus Q, so minus -3 plus R. So then this is going to give me the square root of 4 plus 3 plus 2. Well, 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9, so the square root of 9. So remember, when we're taking the square root, we're saying which number times itself twice, because it's a square root, gives me 9. Well, I know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9, so that means the square root of 9 is equal to 3. All right, now let's move on to the last problem. All right, so for this last example, you're given a word problem. You have to translate it into an equation, and then we're going to solve. So it says a vehicle salesman shows Nigel a red bus and a green bus. The red bus has one more than twice the number of seats as a green bus. So we need to go ahead and rewrite this. It says let G be the number of seats in the green bus. Write an expression for the number of seats in the red bus. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to translate this, that the red bus has one more than twice the number of green seats. All right, so one more than twice the number of green seats. So that means that for A, our red bus is equal to, so the number of seats in our red bus is equal to twice the number of seats as our green bus plus 1. So it's twice 2G plus 1. Right, so that is how many seats we have available in our red bus. So it says if the green bus has 7 seats, find the number of seats in the red bus. So we just need to substitute this in. So then our red bus seats is equal to 2 times 7, the number of seats in our green bus, plus 1. So then the number of seats in our red bus is equal to 14 plus 1, or the number of seats in our red bus is equal to 15 seats. All right, so that is it for this section. That is it for this video.